Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special week of episodes. This week, we have a tag team of amazing guests to be part of a 5-part series on engineering your organization for continuous learning. We are sitting down with Tom Gilb, pioneer of the Evo approach and value-based engineering, and Simon Holzapfel, who's been a previous guest, system thinker and educator. And across these 5 specific conversations, every one of them will be about a topic, and it all comes together on Friday. So make sure you listen to all of them. We will talk about how to shift from motion to meaningful progress, from planning to adaptive strategy, from checkbox agile to continuous learning systems. This is about engineering organizations that evolve deliberately, measurably, and of course, with a clear purpose. So let's get into it. Let me welcome to the show our amazing guests, Simon and Tom. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Tom, let's start with you. Give us a very short intro to, your very long history in this industry, but just something that people can grab onto and understand why you are sharing some of these ideas with us this week.
Okay. I've always made it my business with my clients to hook them in the first meeting in the first hour. And I've universally had 2 tricks related to our conversation. One, I asked them what their most critical problem is. And that's what we're calling the North Star for the moment, okay? Then I show them that they never had a clear idea what their North Star was. They had management bullshit. Then, within the hour, I show them that there's an evolutionary step they can make this week for actually making progress towards the clarified North Star. That blows the mind of CEOs, and they're hooked, and I've got my consultancy gig.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of the Evo approach that we're going to explore this week. How about you, Simon? What's the 30-second intro to Simon Holzapfel's story? Oh, you're on mute.
That's like most of my life, Vasco.
Go ahead.
By which I mean, I was born a kid who spoke too much and listened too little. My life journey is getting the balance more right, depending upon who's around me and where we're trying to go.
Very good. And both Tom and Simon have been guests on the podcast before, so check out their episodes on the podcast to know more about their ideas and the, let's say, the problems they especially care about. So, Tom, let's get back to you. Now, many organizations and even many among our Agile community as well focus a lot on process performance. Now, let's first acknowledge there's nothing wrong with that in theory. However, in practice, it may miss some critical things that you talk about in your Evo approach. You call it value-driven engineering, impact engineering. So let's start there. What is impact engineering in the context of your Evo approach?
Okay. So by the term engineering, I mean very systematic, very logical, very experimental with feedback and learning, and very clearly directed towards really important things, which we call our stakeholder values or stakeholder critical values.
And that's actually a very important point, like the values. And we will come back to that in this week's series. But you said very disciplined, but there's more than that, right? Like, because, I mean, some might say waterfall planning is very disciplined, but that's not the kind of discipline you are talking about, right?
No, no. The key word is really simple. It's clarity. And everybody seems to start from a position of fuzzy bullshit, nice sounding words.
I really like that phrase, by the way.
Yeah.
I might copy it.
So, I mean, this is management does it, professors do it, politicians we know do it, and they don't even feel very guilty about it. They feel like this is their culture, this is the way things are done. If you push them, what do you mean by extremely high security? They say, well, extremely high security.
Isn't that obvious, Tom?
Yeah. So, but when you push them, they say, but Tom, these are soft values. You cannot clarify them. You cannot quantify. You quantify money, quantify time. You cannot quantify all the illities, all the qualities, all the soft values. And I say, you want to bet? Now, in the old days, I had my manual methods for doing that, but today it's real simple. I said, let's ask your favorite AI to quantify, for example, employee happiness 100 different ways. I did that once with human happiness, and we got 100 different ways of quantifying, different defined scales of measure to a man who, with a good mind, good education, but he was in denial. You cannot quantify human happiness. Show me, Tom. I said, well, here's 100. Now, how many do you think there are in total? I'll make a long story short there. I asked the AI system, could you give me 1,000,000 different scales of measure if I asked you? And it said no. And I was a bit disappointed because I was sure there were 1,000,000 out there. I said, how many could you give me? It said, I could give you 1,450 different measures of human happiness. Why 1,450? I said, because that's all I've been trained on up to now.
That's very good.
Yeah. So in other words, it's really easy today to prove to people that they can clarify their bullshit North Star objectives. And that is the beginning of a whole new culture of management and engineering clarity.
And talking about culture, one can be very disciplined about defining how to measure something, but one also needs to create the approaches, the culture and the processes that lead to actually delivering on that and measuring that. And one of the topics we discussed today is how the Agile movement has lost its North Star. And I guess we already have a little bit of an insight as to why Tom thinks that is the case. But how about Simon? Simon, give us your perspective, your systems thinking perspective. Of why do you think we have lost this North Star in the Agile community and movement?
Sure. And I regret that we're on not on video, Vasco, but I think we can make this available to your listeners, who can then go back, grab this PDF, and have a much more visual answer.
Yeah, we'll definitely make that available.
Okay, so to answer your question, how many leaders want to get wet like this?
So we have an image of a stormy sea with some sharks. And there's some superficial process thinking on the left, and there's some very high waves and personal awareness and reflection on the right, with the phrase, maybe it's me. So I guess, Simon, by getting wet like this, you mean leaders who want to get to the point where they may be forced to realize that the challenge to deliver value is not the process, the technology, or even the other people, but maybe themselves. Is that what you mean?
What I mean is leaders often want flow, but they want a wetsuit so they don't have to touch the flow and truly be part of it.
So, and how do you link that to the lost North Star of the Agile movement, Simon?
So Tom will say that he and I are like deep structuralists. And so I'm going to give you first the Marxist presumption about that, which was the impossibility of capital ever changing to the current reality that John Kay describes, which is capital as a service like SaaS or cloud or whatever. If you're trying to be a leader of an organization and those two facts are not well onboarded by you and your team, you're approaching the edge of standard of sort of fiduciary care for whatever organization you're looking at, right? What CEO now doesn't know about cloud infrastructure? It would be a clown. It's really inconvenient for leaders to be really with their team, because what teams do is they go through these waves all the time trying to solve business problems for someone above them.
So what I hear you say is that we lost the North Star in the Agile movement because we have not understood how that translates into concrete decisions and concrete approaches to delivering value within our organizations. We are linking to it as kind of a generic term, maybe even a fuzzy bullshit like Tom described a moment ago.
Yes. So in other words, so let me just use my hands. And again, I apologize to your listeners. So it used to be the case that the bottleneck was capital to almost anything getting developed. Agile developed, and especially incremental Agile developed, primarily to allay the concerns of the voice of capital in the room. This is a pre-digital voice of capital, as opposed to the current voice of capital, which moves digitally in the direction of capital as SaaS, capital as a service.
So basically,
Agile lost its North Star because these economic problems socially it was trying to solve within the organization is now mismatched with the digital world. And the North Star is no longer in that ancient sort of fixed mindset. It's in the forward-facing digital mindset, which is wet and sloppy and requires teams to be coordinated and collaborative, not waiting for someone to tell them what to do.
Okay,
and
so one of the things that this suggests in me is this contrast between trying to be more efficient and actually navigating complex feedback loops and social structures to try to be more impactful.
Because innovation is a fundamentally stochastic process. And so this is why when I met Tom, it was kind of like meeting Jesus, Buddha, and Gandalf at the same time. Because I had been in this pit of despair of we just can't measure some things. We just can't bring value and clarity. And I met Tom, I was like, ta-da! Not only does this exist for any Scrum Master with AI access, the whole Gilbiverse is right there. You can then use that as a Scrum Master, not to just protect your team, right? The anxiety is outside the team. Capital wants predictive returns on a stochastic process, which is innovation. Obviously, you just cache buffer the innovation thing, just like throughput accounting tells us to do, like Danielle Doiron tells us to do. Obvious documented things, but again, it destabilizes the current hierarchy, who listens to who, right? It's just when it's like trying to grow.
In other words, it actually destabilizes us because in the Agile community, we're using tools for flow, when in fact the problem is no longer the flow of work, it is the creation of value, which is a stochastic process, as you said, so something that can't be predictable. It will happen in big lumps at some point, but you can't predict when it happens.
Early in the process, but then you use Gilbian methods, you use the leaf methods to, again, Agile, lean, refine with Tom's sort of operating system. Then
you mean
the
Evo approach, yeah, and we'll talk more. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. So we talked about the need to focus on delivering value through innovation, but then the question is, okay, but how do we make sure we are delivering that value? And that's actually something we're going to talk about tomorrow when we explore continuous strategy engineering with the Evo approach by Tom Gilb. So Tom and Simon, thank you for being here. It was a wonderful set of introduction ideas. Looking forward to our conversation tomorrow.
All right.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into no estimates, we got the pioneers of no estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.